dads and families. Today, for episode 79, we're looking at setting boundaries with love and clarity. And why is that so important? How does that help you co create a um, more understanding, a better how does that help you co-create with your child, with your spouse, something that is more aligned to who you are, to your loving self and their loving selves, right? So, in this episode of The Ripple Effect of Love, I want to open your eyes up, dads. How can you set boundaries that aren't about control? That they're about creating a space where your loved ones feel your love, feel loved, and feel that there's respect and that everybody can thrive. Not always easy. It is a skill, just like learning to ride a bike is a skill, just like learning marketing is a skill. These skills are very important. When we're able to do this in such a way that the boundaries bring freedom and trust instead of conflict, then we've got this win win situation, don't we? So sometimes we kind of want to be our child's friend, and that can backfire because we might have a bit of a challenge with the boundaries. One day, one boundary is good, and the next day, um, well, we've got a new boundary. It's, oh, let's just forget about this and move on. So, having firm boundaries help create a deeper connection. And why is that? Because the child knows where the beginning and the end is. One very simple example that I can take from the classroom is I would put my hand up when I wanted the students to be quiet, and I would just bring each finger down until we were at 0. And of course, some days it was a bit slower, but the child can see the time go by because the fingers are going down. So it's easy for the child to um, to see the beginning and the end. It's kind of like creating SMART goals, right? If you've never created a SMART goal, you know that it needs to be measurable. So you need to be able to measure the time that you have. You need to be able, I'm having a mind of what all the SMART goal stand for. So give me a second. So your objectives are very specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're relevant, and they're time bound. So when we have this in our boundaries, are we not creating a win win solution? Of course, sometimes you may need to be able to just, I'm trying to do two things. Doesn't work so good. Okay, so your objectives, your boundaries, they're specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, relevant. I'm going to change that to boundaries. Okay. Just like SMART goals, because the child, you might need to practice as well. When I started doing this in the classroom, I mean, it was a total disaster because, first of all, the students were all like, I mean, that was not creating silence. It was just creating a little bit more havoc than we wanted. So we practiced and we talked about. And this is very important to get everybody on board to what these boundaries need to be. And it depends on the age group. At a teen level, you may want to sit down and create the rules and the boundaries together. At a 10-year-old level, you can do this quite easily by asking what their likes, what is it that they don't like, where would they like to see some shifts happening in the family, where can and what do they suggest you try out? And it's okay to let your child have an input, try it out, and see where it takes you. Will it take you down the route, down a successful route or not? And in a day or in a week, you reevaluate, and it's okay to reevaluate. Remember, though, when you are trying to implement new boundaries, you will get resistance. Why? Because your children are smart? That's the easiest answer. Smart kids can bring resistance. And, oh, yes, some of the biggest mistakes as dads that can be made when setting rules is to just dictate them, right? If you're dictating, this is the way it is, there's no, it can create, if you're not respecting your child's needs and wants and desires, that can easily be quite a mistake. So, I don't like to talk about mistakes, can add some challenges, can create an environment where the child does not feel safe. So, when we are creating boundaries, when we are setting boundaries, example, your child is now ready to you've decided, you've talked with your spouse, and you're going to allow them to use a cell phone or any device. So, what are the boundaries? Have you talked about what is it that you want? Have you looked at your value system, first of all, to be able to set these loving and clear boundaries that are specific, measurable, achievable? You can't have the same rules and boundaries for a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, or 15-year-old because they don't have the same mental development. So it needs to be relevant and you need to have it done in a certain time. In example, with a cell phone, how will you implement this? So I've created a contract. If you're interested, write to me, book a call, we can talk about it, where it's a contract between you and the child. What is it that they need to know before you give a cell phone or an internet device, anything that connects to the internet, even games that are played on the internet? Sometimes we forget about that, but they have chat rooms. And a lot of things happen in those chat rooms. Somebody who's frustrated all of a sudden's been a nice player and then they're dumping on your child. I've heard of children who have been selected to manage a platform at the age of 12. That kind of responsibility for a 12-year-old, I'm not sure it's the right one. Unless you're sitting there with your child and showing them the ins and outs and how to deal with this type of situation and that type of situation, I personally would not recommend that. I have not seen that ability in children because there will be conflicts, there will be, so many things can come up and there's so many rules, internet rules. Does your child know all the rules, safety rules of being on the internet? So there's so many different things. So when you're creating some firm boundaries, So, why firmness, right? Talked about that a few seconds ago, and I don't think I answered that question clearly. So, I'm going to bring that up again. So, if I'm doing my hand signal, for example, or if I use the cell phone and I say, okay, at 8, they go to bed at 8. So, at 7, I want the cell phone or during meal times. This is a good one. During meal times, no cell phone. Okay. And then one day you come in and you're like, oh, but I really have to put the meal, I have to text during my meal. What are you showing your child? So make sure your rules are a win win for you and a win win for your child, right? If you often absolutely need to text during meals, can the meal be changed by half an hour earlier or later? So that it doesn't happen during mealtime? Is that a possibility? Looking at that as well. Uh, Putting everybody puts their devices in a basket or turns it upside down on the table so that you can just be able to breathe and enjoy the conversation. And what if somebody gets a message and it bings? What are the boundaries there? Do you automatically take the phone away, or do you allow the individual to mute their phone because they forgot to mute it? So, or do you want all the cell phones to be in a basket in another room while you're eating? So you will know what it is that your child needs. And you can say, well, we're going to set some boundaries. There might be changes. And it's okay if you say there might be changes, the child will expect it. But it needs to be consistent because they will test you the first week, second week, third week. They're smart. Remember, your children are smart. So if you see them testing you, say, oh, my children are smart. Yay. Right? It's a perspective. They're smart. I'm proud of them. Okay. So, what can I do with this situation? Do we need to talk about it as a family, or do I just make a decision knowing what my children's values are so that what I choose aligns with them? Do I just need to self regulate, right? Snap, tap, relax those shoulders, and zap. If you're unable to reframe and say, "Oh, I've got a smart kid," went to the bathroom to go into the basket to see if they got a text message from their new girlfriend or something important, because it's easy. We have addictions to our phones. Well, I used to have one. I decided to put that aside. Most of the time, I'm really good. And I had to work on it. So that's why I say work on it on yourself first. Get rid of the addiction of being on it every 2 seconds so that you can do it easily and be an awesome model for your child. Wouldn't that be so much easier if you are taking that time to model it before you ask them to implement it? Okay. Um, Snap Tap Zap is a quick trick to keep you calm, confident when you're enforcing limits. Because if you have a hard time saying no to your children, well, okay, today you can, and then they ask tomorrow, oh, yeah, no, you can't. And then you get upset because they're asking you. So every time they ask you, snap, tap, zap, release the need to change the rule if you're changing it all the time, if it's inconsistent. So you know what type of dad you are, and you know which aspect of all this that I've talked about is most important for you to really be there, grounded, centered, filled with a place of love, knowing. See, when my students would try and play tricks on me, I gotta go to the bathroom. We're doing a test. Gotta go to the bathroom right now. And I'm like, are you testing me or do you really need to go? Are you afraid to start the task? Is there something else behind that? It's about taking a breath instead of being upset. What's the use of being upset? How is that supportive for the child? Maybe they are so nervous that all of a sudden they do need to go to the bathroom. So maybe I can just ask, can you do that super quick, please? Yeah, yeah. Bathroom was just 2 doors away, so it was easy for them to be super quick, and they were back, and they were grateful, and then they were able to focus on their task. So we really need to evaluate, each question that we get with our rules, but at the same time, if you have something like showers, you want your child to shower before they go to bed. Great. Or you want them to do that in the morning, whatever it is, shower or a bath. So the choice is, do you want it hot or cold? Right? You're win-win. They're getting a shower. They get to choose if it's hot or cold. Some people don't agree with this type of um, boundary, but I believe it's really good because it gives them the opportunity to at least two choices. And then later on, what time would you like your shower? Right after supper or just before you go to bed? If they're going out to play in the mud, with their friends or street hockey or something, well, right after supper and before they go to bed, that might not be a good time, right? So let's reevaluate that. And it's how we bring the topic forward really helps. If you're really on this stand of I'm the authority, you're going to do it my way or it's the highway, you are most likely going to get resistance. You may not, for children who are so shy and reserved, they're just going to take it in and say, oh, there goes another rule that I have to follow. And they're going to feel resentment. And when it's time for them to come and talk to you about things that are really important, they may not want to. So I know you've got this. I know that you can choose one boundary, just one that you're struggling with that you would like to that there's a struggle that would help your whole family. So let's problem solve in the chat. Share what it is that's a challenge so that we can support you. And on that note, I hope I was clear enough and helped you um, get a better understanding of these boundaries and how to do them with love. Think of yourself from the heart. Are you being very clear? There's these clocks. Oh, here's another idea. There's these big clocks with a red band, and you say, okay, you've got 15 minutes to finish this up. And you show and you bring it to the 15 minutes, and it just keeps moving when the time is up. And the child can look up and easily see, especially for children who can't tell time yet. This is a really good tool. I think you can find that on Scholastics or other toy stores that have many useful tools to support parents, to support dads. And I know, dads, you've got this. And sending you lots of love and self compassion, lots of grace as you move through this to the best of your ability. And if you make a mistake, so what? Nothing is perfect. When you first did SMART goals, were they all amazing? Maybe you've never heard of them, and it's okay. Just try and think of all the aspects and all the games your child might be able to play against you when you set new rules so that you're psychologically ready for it. And they might come up with some new tricks that are fun if you're able to say, "Oh, they're showing me they're very bright and intelligent. Okay, I need to self-regulate, stay calm, ground myself, and see how I can best deal with this situation. And I know you can do this. If I can, you can. I have no doubts about it. Sometimes it just takes us a bit of time, and that's okay. If you need extra support, here's my QR code. A call. Let's see what we can do to support you. So, I'm Christine Belna, stress management coach for children and adults, and I'm all about freeing your stress so that you can live a healthier and happier life. Take great care of yourself, and I will see you